Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet a financial strategist who helps small to mid-sized businesses get to that next level. Her incredible story just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, when there's a startup, sometimes you're starting in your garage. Think about like Google started in a garage with just 2 guys. And then obviously as it grows, they have growing pains. And sometimes they need to bring in a financial strategist to help keep them on track. My next guest knows a lot about that. Tina O'Banion is in the studio. She's an MBA and she's the CEO of TFO Clarity. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet, you bet. Well, let's start at the very beginning. Wait, have you always been kind of into numbers and into financial strategy?
Yes, since I was in high school.
No kidding.
Yeah, it all started with a class in high school, and my mom was a bookkeeper, and she taught me the value of money, and I just kind of ran with it. I was really good with numbers, so it was just embedded in me from that early age.
And Tina, obviously there are bookkeepers out there, there are accountants out there, but they don't do what you do.
That is correct. That is correct. I spent most of my career in growing my succession to be a CFO of a publicly traded company. And I've always had this complete desire to help entrepreneurs on the side, friends, family members that were doing business. And I took entrepreneurship class and I just loved it. And I always had this in the back of my mind that I wanted to do my own thing. And I finally just woke up one day and I said, you know what, I can do this.
Wow.
I can help more people understand their numbers and look at their business through a financial lens. That was my goal and that's my mission. And I want to help as many entrepreneurs as I can so that they really understand what they're looking at.
Sure, and many times CEOs have a blind spot. I mean, they may be good at their craft, but they're not good at managing people, or maybe they're not good with cash flow.
Yes.
And sometimes they need somebody to come in and say, wait a minute, there's a better way to do this.
Absolutely. I think that, right now we should be looking at 2025 budget planning.
Yes.
And a lot of business owners, they may get their financials, but they never look at it. They don't know what it's saying. They don't really know that if they're pricing correctly or making money. They just literally go to their app on their phone and they look at what their bank balance is and they make decisions based off of that.
And you are also a best-selling author. I love the title of the book, Falling Up with Grace. And we're going to put that on the screen so everybody can see it. Tell us about Falling Up with Grace.
Yeah, so I wrote this book because I've been, throughout my corporate career, I've seen a lot of things that CEOs have done and they haven't done it very well, right? And I set off for this journey because I've been journaling these stories for a very, very long time and I always wanted to write a book. And then I met this person, Angel Tessie, that said, hey, I've got this program. You can write your book in 90 days. And she said, you've got a story to tell and the world needs to hear it. And so I set up this venture not to write a how-to book because honestly that's kind of boring. Sure. I don't know how to reach your financials. So I took this story based off of my grandmother Grace and kind of like made up this company and I just decided to put all those adventures and all those falling downs into falling ups.
Wow.
And these are real life stories that I've actually seen. I'll give you an example, like finding embezzlement. What do you do with that? And not setting a budget and then overspending and cash flow issues. So she kind of goes through all of these journeys. In the story, there's a beginning, middle, and end.
Sure.
And, she inherits this business from her dad, and she's a creative marketing person, right? So to run a business takes a whole lot of different skill set. And so I've seen this in real world, so I just kind of put that in there, and then each phase, there's tips and learnings from what she just kind of went through in this journey.
Yes. And I think your journey kind of mirrors the book, because you've had this meteoric rise. We've got a picture from your launch party. What was it, 2019 that you started it?
Yes, exactly. 5 years ago, last week, it was, I just launched it and had an incredible turnout, and it was so much fun.
Yes.
So we're excited about that.
Tell me one of your favorite client success stories.
Well, I look back on all the clients that I've helped. There's just one that stands out where I've just made this huge impact. We as a team, she was struggling with some financial debt that she was put in, and surviving through COVID and whatnot, and she struggled to try to make ends meet. And she took out a lot of loans, and she also kind of invested in some other technology that she thought she needed. So all that to be said, she just kind of got fed up with not being able to make payroll and just didn't understand her numbers. And is she pricing her products correctly? Is she going to market correctly? What is she spending money on? What's her gross profit margins? All of these questions. And she had a CPA that she had been using for a long time, and they also did her bookkeeping. And so she was getting her taxes done every year, but she just wasn't getting any feedback. No strategy, no forward thinking, nothing. Right. And she and I met, and she said, "I need your help." And so I said, "Fine, let's do this." And every single month we would get together and we would talk about her historical financial statements. And at first she was like deer in the headlights, like, "I just don't even understand what you're saying to me." So I had to break it down, because she's very creative. She's she has this mindset. And so over time, she just got excited to meet with me and discuss her financials, and then to put in place a budget. And it's not just a financial budget. Hey, I want to double what I did last year, so I need double the clients, or I need double the sales. And so just kind of breaking it down piece by piece. It took time, but she's just gets so excited. She's like, "Oh my gosh, we're going to do budgets next month. Let's do this," and all that. So.
And it's got to feel good to really change. I mean, she could have, gone under.
Right. All these different tips and things that I kind of. We looked at the cash flow. We looked at her balance sheet. Oh my gosh, this is her balance sheet was inaccurate. And so I say that your balance sheet is one of your most important financial statements.
Sure. You're also a very popular guest on podcasts. Let's go ahead and show some video from a podcast, Coffee with Claire, one of my favorite people. That was in our studios downstairs a couple of years ago. But you do have the heart of a teacher, don't you? You like to educate people.
I do. I really do. If someone doesn't understand what's going on, I like to kind of put it in a light that is down to earth. I think that's why I wrote the book too, is just to there is a story behind it. It's not all technical, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to use all these terms that people don't understand. Let's just break it down piece by piece. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be easy. And just the way I talk to people,
How does somebody know when they need a Tina O'Banion?
Or a TFO, because I have a whole set of employees that help with everything. So we do everything from bookkeeping to fractional CFO work. What was the question?
Yeah, how do they know when they're in trouble and they need to reach out to somebody like you?
Well, first sign is when you can't make payroll. Second sign is you don't know what your tax exposure may be at the end of the year until you get your tax return. You're in shock with the number that you have to pay taxes on. So there are some tax strategies that you can do. You have maybe a bookkeeper that they don't meet with you, or they just don't even give you your financials. I think that's really knowing your numbers. Am I pricing this right? If I've got this pen and I'm going to market with it, you got to know how much it costs.
Right.
And so for every dollar you bring in, you've got to know what your margins are. And if you don't know that and you're scrambling, then that's an issue.
Wow. Well, I think you're absolutely brilliant. In the 2 or 3 minutes we have left, why don't you look into that camera on the left and talk to the person who may want to engage you. And I know you have a number that they can text, so feel free to offer that as well.
Yes, so if you want to get a hold of us, you can text numbers, NUMBERS, to 26786. Again, that's the word numbers to 26786. Coming up, I will be having a launch party of my my book and my 5-year anniversary. So in order to get all the news and what's coming up and tips, etc., please text that number. You'll be put on our mailing list, and we will get connected.
Outstanding. You've been a great guest. We're going to end with your website, which is tfoclarity.com, the great Tina O'Banion. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.